Welcome to the Valley of Outlaws podcast with me, Will Flindle. A podcast for those taking the road less trodden, and a podcast for those seeking more. On this episode, we have Magnus Davies, a confidence, anxiety, and life coach working with individuals looking to be the best versions of themselves. Having been ostracised by his friendship group at school and experiencing societal pressures at university, Magnus developed severe social anxiety. However, he was able to overcome this and use skills he learnt to help him understand his mind and anxiety as a whole. Magnus's transparency on the topic enables him to connect deeply with those suffering, and his ability to express his ideas and thoughts means that he can quickly and efficiently give advice to those who need it. Together we talk about his relationship with his parents, school friends and girlfriend, and cover a range of topics about understanding who you are and how to make the first steps towards living as your truest self. Hopefully there will be elements of connection for you, which will help clarify or reinforce what you believe to be true. So without further ado, let's begin. Outlaw number 4. Outlaw number 4, sir.
That's an honour of mine.
It's an honour to have you as Outlaw number 4. I can't believe we've only known each other since December, and yet the impact we've had on each other has been quite magnificent.
I know. Should we tell people how we met, our first interaction?
By all means, please do.
So I met Will in a community call, and it was funny because I'd never met Will, and Will was the only other bloke in the community. So I think I was sharing something, and I thought Will was like laughing or mocking what I had to say. So I ended up saying, I don't know even what I said, but I called you out, didn't I, on the call? And it was heated, but I came off that call almost respecting you in a weird way, because it challenged me. It challenged my own, God, we're going to get vulnerable already. We challenged my own insecurities and my own fears. So, and reflecting on that, if that never had happened, if I stayed in my comfort zone and I hadn't become aware of that trigger, then I remember you
said it reminded you of the relationship you had to your dad.
Yeah.
Because I think I challenged you on you were talking about something being, is it like the best day you could have had, or, you know, performing always? And I was like, well, does it matter?
Yeah.
And like, no one else was challenging, and I was like, well, does it matter? And I kept saying, well, does it matter? And you were like, I'm getting so triggered by this.
Yeah, I know. I was super triggered, man.
I didn't even know what that meant at the time.
Did you not?
No. I said to Tobias the time after, I was like, what does he mean by triggered? I don't understand that. And then he told me, and I was like, oh, shit.
How did he say it? Was he like fucked off?
No. He was just like brought up a lot of emotion and you know. I understand. I mean, it's obvious to understand once you've told it, once you've told what it means. But it was, you know, it was not how I wanted it to make an impact, but it was more, I guess, it's not something I regret, because it's like, it was a true instinct to try and just devil's advocate with you in some ways.
Definitely, yeah.
And it was pure. It was a cool moment.
It was pure. And I think there's a lot of people pleasing and a lot of fakery in social interaction. So in a way, it was refreshing to just be like, hang on, I'm pissed off here, you know? And I said it. And even though it wasn't my higher self, I felt like, become aware of something there. I can look into that, see where that comes from. And that's what I did.
Yeah. No. And then from there on, it's just blossomed.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
weekly catch-ups.
And now we're the best of friends.
Exactly. Right. Okay. Let's go first question. Okay. In your own words, who are you? What do you do? And how have you got to what you're doing now?
Wow. Okay. I'm a human being. Who am I? It's one of those like icebreaker questions, isn't it? Who are you? I'd say, well, I'm a coach. I'm a life coach, and I like to look at myself as someone who champions themselves, loves to champion other people, loves to help people grow, loves to push people to become better versions of themselves. And I got to that place because there was a point in my life where I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. Um, whether it was at school, trying to fit in, trying to be popular, you know, I had a big fear of failure at school. And looking back at that time, that's what it created a lot of anxiety that I felt like my whole teenage years were spent trying to prove myself, like trying to be good enough on the outside world. And that created a lot of anxiety, and it spilled out at university, and I became really anxious, and to the point where I couldn't function. I couldn't do ordinary things. And then from there, it was almost like I got into coaching. I became a coach as a result. It was almost like my medicine to be a coach. It was like I started reading, I started going to therapy, I started exploring, why do I feel this way? This isn't normal. There's not none of my friends are going outside and having a panic attack. Like, this isn't normal. What is creating this? So it came from a place of something's not quite right. And then from there, I started to find out who I was, discover the beliefs I had without even knowing it, and discovering my passions, which was like philosophy, self-development. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
It's super interesting because one thing which blew up when you said it, the fear of failure.
Yeah.
I mean, what is failure? Which just always comes into my mind when someone says that. It's like the boundaries which we are told are failure, and the limits are only constructed by someone else and what they think they are. And it's for me, hearing that, I have a lot to kind of like link to that as well, because I think a lot of my I had anxiety, but not to an extreme level, but a lot of lack of worthiness and misunderstanding of who I was came from the fact of schooling and education kind of set these boundaries of who you should be, who they're trying to make you be, and how you're trying to think, and that you don't explore that freely in yourself. You explore that in the expression of you need to be good at these kind of topics, and if you're not good, you'll be in a lower set with people who aren't as good with you and will expect you to be mediocre, and you'll probably go to mediocre universities, and your life's going to be not as special as these elite smart brains over here. And like that, the limiting stuff that that it adds pressure, but it adds kind of expectation as well to every kind of decision you make. And it can compound so much, especially with anxiety. It's like
100%.
You don't even realize it either.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened to me. And it was the metrics that I felt had been placed on me out at school, whether it was my set. So I had a big chip on my shoulder when I was at school that I wasn't intelligent enough because I wasn't in the top sets for everything. And I felt inadequate because I wasn't in the top sets. I wasn't the most popular kid. So I did everything I could to not be a failure. And in doing so, I left. I stopped being myself. I stopped being authentic. And that's the thing about you just said about what is failure. Failure. I came to the realization, subconsciously, I believed I was a failure because I wasn't meeting these expectations that I thought were necessary to be enough.
And it's also amazing how it interacts with your friendship groups as well. Like my dad talks about how he always said I was the joker of my friendship group. I always used to make people laugh, and it was like a response to the fact that I wasn't necessarily I was sporty, but not the best sportsman. I wasn't the most academic. I was arty, but using trying to get into an associate and try and find a place in the groups, because there's this kind of like ranking you're having from such a young age. If I could be the funniest, or if I can make other people laugh, it gave such self gratification from that. And it also leads even more to anxiety, because it's like, actually, it's such a shallow existence as well, because if you're just there to make other people laugh, why are you not happy enough with yourself just to be listening
To
and
just be.
just to be? Exactly. Yeah.
100%. So do you think you adopted the role as the Joker to feel enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find my place in a group.
Yeah.
And it's funny now, all those people I was trying to make laugh are not people I even stay in contact with anymore. I was saying the truest friends I have from school and stuff are the ones I didn't have that relationship with. It was the ones where it was just calm conversation about football or sport, and they're the ones who are still some of my closest friends today.
Wow.
But the ones I tried to make laugh were like, they're forgotten.
That's really interesting, because the people who you were authentically you around are still here.
Mm.
And the people who you were not authentically you are not here.
Mm.
So the people who you're meant to be friends with, the people who are meant to be in your life, will always stick around if you're you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? I love
Very
it.
cool.
Okay. How would you describe the way that you think?
Good question. I think.
And how has it changed?
That's a great question. I used to think very in existential terms. I used to look at everything and analyze it and go, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that person, acting like this? What could that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's the meaning of death? What's the meaning of life? I used to analyze everything. I used to be in my head a lot about everything. And how it's evolved is that as I've come out of an anxious state, out of survival mode, I don't analyze things as much. I like to look at things as they present themselves to me. And I think the best things in life are when you're in a relaxed, calm state, and when you're not over analyzing things. Because I think you can get into the habit of trying to think in complex ways as a way of proving your worth, instead of just enjoying yourself. And I asked myself the question a year or so ago is, do I want to be happy, or do I want to sound clever?
Nice.
And I want to be happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
How were you thinking at the time where you had anxiety? Was it, as you said, reactive completely? There was no kind of proactive decision making. I mean, maybe the proactive decision making was protection for yourself, like to stop yourself doing that, but for the wrong reasons, I guess. But what would be the differences in the way, okay, you were thinking there at your worst to now?
I think at the time I thought I was being proactive, but I think I was just doing everything I could to find answers.
For what?
For why the hell am I feeling like this?
Okay.
Because I'd never, in hindsight, I'd experienced anxiety for most of my life, but I didn't know what anxiety was. I was overanalyzing and thinking, which I know now to be anxiety. But it was only until I started having severe anxiety panic attacks and the wheels came off my life, that's when I then had to address it and go, what is going on here?
So what was the first moment when you actually was like, this is anxiety?
So I took a weed edible at my friend's house.
As you do.
Which was a bad mistake. If you're watching this, it's a bad fucking mistake. Bad mistake. Yeah, so the story is I was at my friend's house and we were having a quiet night. We had a seminar in the morning, so it was just a chill night. One of the guys really wanted to bake a tray of brownies, weed edibles, and I wasn't keen on the idea. I tried weed before and it got me in my head, so I didn't want to do it. But I did it, and I had the most painful awakening night of my life, where I was hallucinating. I thought I was dying.
Oh.
I tried to text my mum and say goodbye to her. That's how I thought I was dead. Like I was.
So what were you experiencing to feel that? What were you seeing? And
yeah, I was having like heart palpitations. Really, really. I've never had heart palpitations on that level, and I was hallucinating. And I'm not a religious person, but I thought I saw something. I thought I saw Jesus, like truly.
Really?
Yeah, but I think that was my mind playing tricks. And then I tried to go to the hospital, but I was too weak to go to the hospital. So,
how were you too weak?
in terms of like, I was crawling.
Really?
Yeah, I was crawling on the floor.
So what were your friends doing who were taking it with? How did they respond to that?
I think they were worried.
Really?
They were messed up as well,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to call the ambulance for me.
Wow.
Mm.
How did you kind of get through that the next couple of days? What were they like?
So I woke up the next day and I pretended like nothing had happened. And then 6 days later, it was a Friday night, and I was revising in my room for mock exams, and no one was in the flat. Everyone was out. It was Friday night, and then I started I had this weird experience where the walls started coming in and my heart started pumping again. I went, "What is going on?" I know this feeling. This is what happened. What is happening? And I was in a state of panic, and I ended up in A&E, and they put me in the waiting room, and it was funny because there was this homeless guy who'd been beaten up behind me, and I was like shaking and stuff. And he went, "Ride it out, brother. It gets easier." He thought I was on some drug. I was just there, like, for real. Like, I'm not on something. I was revising, for fuck's sake. Like, anyway, I said, right, I can't wait anymore. Something's happening to my body. I'm having a heart attack. I basically begged with the security guard who was guarding, the room to the nurse, the beds and all the stuff there. And I said, "Look, I'm not well. I need to be seen now." And they let me through, and I basically was on a bed with the nurses calming my breathing down, and my heart rate was going. It was really high. And then after that night, I got up out at like 4 a.m. My girlfriend cut short a night out and made to see if I was okay. And since after that, I was just living in what I would consider hell, state of real panic, alarm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. For probably a year.
And what was that state like then? If it was it just raising heart palpitations, or was it a lot in your mind of fear of going back to what that was?
Yeah, it was like I became super paranoid of feeling that feeling again, and I was in my mind more than ever. I became scared to leave my apartment, see my friends, do ordinary things.
Do you lose trust in yourself?
Yeah, 100%. And I lost trust in my body as well. I didn't trust my body to serve its function because I thought my body was. I had the belief that my body didn't have my best interests at heart.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought my body was playing games on me. So I thought there's something wrong with me.
Oh wow.
Which is health anxiety.
Yeah. Okay, so you said, looking back now, you didn't realize you had anxiety, and you had elements of it before you had. So when you look back at those times, what were the elements of anxiety you think you had, which you just weren't aware of at the time?
Overworking. I used to work really hard. Like I used to revise till late at night at GCSEs, A levels. I used to get in my mind a lot and overthink.
Wow.
Yeah, and I used to have weird moments where I would speak to someone, and their head would become really small, and I'd be like, "What the fuck's this?" Like I had it with a teacher once in A levels, and I didn't know that, but it was anxiety. And I remember when they used to ask me to read in class, I used to get so nervous, and I used to stutter.
That is so funny. I was talking to Tobias about this yesterday with me. Had exactly the same thing.
Did you?
Reading in class, yeah.
Well, so for you, it was just, it triggered.
No, I was just bad at reading, and then everybody used to laugh at me when I read. And then when it comes to me, I'd be so nervous to read, and I just wanted to get through it. And I'd either read it really too quickly or read it really slowly.
Which one did you go to more?
The quick
one, yeah.
My mind, because my mind's always been my mind always is ahead of my mouth. So I'm thinking faster than I can speak, and I'm reading faster than I can read the words, speak the words. And that was a very big basis for anxiety, social anxiety for me, those kind of little triggers like that.
Yeah.
What was it for you then in that sense?
I think it was social anxiety. I think my main fear was feeling like I wasn't likable. Like feeling like I wasn't good enough for people.
So where do you think that comes from?
I mean, I was bullied at school.
Okay.
Yeah.
From how old?
So it's weird. I think the main bullying I experienced was when I was 16. And these were by friends who I was really close to. I was with a girl, and they didn't like the girl, and there was a few guys who actually, I think, fancied her as well, which was awkward. But basically, I didn't want to tell them that I was dating them, dating her. Sorry, dating them. I'm dating them, all of them. Yeah, and basically, they just cut me off, excluded me, and it was just I had to finish year 11 in that, with those people not liking me, and these were some of them I'd known since primary school,
Wow.
and I moved schools because of it, because it was
Wow.
just such a toxic environment.
Wow.
And I was called all sorts of names. Like I was called a snake, called a loser, called everything. Yeah,
Why do you think they were like that?
that's a great question. I think all bullying it comes from being insecure yourself. The bully is always insecure. They don't feel enough, so they find ways of imposing their superiority, because that gives them a sense of validation. I think, yeah.
Did you react in a way to give them that validation?
I mean, I responded I was in fight, really. I was in fight. I almost, it was interesting because I responded with like, "You're not going to treat me like this. Like, I don't need you guys." Like, I flighted, but I was also fighting as well. And I definitely added fuel to the fire, but I felt so hurt that my response was, I just felt betrayed, and yeah.
Were you able to express your emotions properly at that age, or do you think? Because I think sometimes, even before like 20, like really understanding how to express how you feel truly to yourself is a really hard thing to do.
Mm.
Do you think in that not and I don't mean express your emotions to them, but maybe even to your girlfriend at the time or to your parents? Like, were you able to do that to try and get that out of you, or was it kind of caught up?
I think it's mixed. It's mixed because I was someone who expressed my emotions, but I also put on this macho act of like, I don't care, it doesn't bother me. That was my defense mechanism. I'm like, I'm better than these guys. I don't need them.
Wow.
When in reality, I was really hurt, and I internalized that as not being good enough, and just believing that I wasn't good enough and not likable.
No. Yeah.
If 9 friends overnight, pretty much overnight, had turned on me from my perspective, what does that tell me at the time? It told me that I'm not likable. Well, I made that decision in my head.
Was it one ringleader who did that and persuaded others, or were they all exactly the same? Like,
Yeah, there was 2.
okay.
Yeah, there was 2.
Yeah, it's the worst because also at that age you're so kind of easily led by just strong
I know.
opinions.
There was others who followed but weren't strong in their behavior. Yeah.
Interesting, because a question I wanted to ask later, but I'm going to ask it now.
Yeah.
Which is to do with this. So it's to do with loneliness. So evidently from this you would have experienced loneliness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think as a young, a lot of successful people, entrepreneurs, talk about loneliness because they find the fact that they think slightly differently to other people and they can't properly connect. But in this way, you've actually been ostracized from your group. So, how does that impact? How did that impact you at the time? But also, how has that impacted you the way you are now?
Yeah, I always had this belief that I was different because of that experience. I thought I was different because I was someone who wasn't just going along with the crowd. I said, no, you're not going to treat me like this. I'm not. I was quite a strong character, which is a good thing, and I think it didn't serve me in some ways. I'm not a strong character. Well, I'm not as. I was very. How do I put it? I responded with such fire back then. I would not respond like that now.
How would you respond now?
I just don't let things bother me. I don't.
Do you think you'd still be friends with them now, with the mindset you have now, if they said the same things?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't, but that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. Would I do things differently? Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been as, well, I would have done things differently, but I wouldn't be friends with them. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
How did your parents respond to it? Was it something you kept to yourself, or was it something you were quite vocal with?
So it was something when I was 16, I kept a lot to myself. I didn't like to share it
Yeah.
because it was embarrassing.
It's part of this isolation protection thing, isn't it?
Exactly. I isolated myself a lot, and we didn't speak about the loneliness, but I did feel lonely.
Mm.
Even though I was with my girlfriend at the time, I spent a lot of time with her. I only had her and one other friend at that point. When I had a whole group of friends some of them I'd been friends with since primary school. So she didn't seem to, she was there for me, but she didn't really understand it either. But yeah, I felt a lot of loneliness and feeling the need to prove myself, really. Yeah.
Wow. And that kind of, I guess, awareness to loneliness is something you probably only realise now.
Yeah.
That's something I 100% experienced. And it's not that I wasn't lonely. I had lots of friends, but it's never actually feeling like you've properly connected to someone is a really weird feeling to have when you don't know what it is. Like, I can connect with 2 or 3, 4 of my friends, but I had groups of friends who, I was friends with, but I didn't really care.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put myself on the line for that friendship.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that connection. And there was definitely an underlying element of loneliness within me. It was because I felt such a individual in such a big, I was at all boys boarding school.
Yeah.
And I felt like such an individual there because I had so little amount of people who actually related to the way I thought.
Yeah.
And would think, again, I still struggle to find people naturally who agree with and thinking exactly the same way as I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever found someone who I could say something and they go, I agree. Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
but I've always found someone who goes, what? maybe I'm just fucking weird.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's something that you learn is a really good thing. I like the fact that I think differently. I like the fact that, because some, I don't want to judge people as well. And the people who I fell out with, I look at them with no bitterness. I look at them and have gratitude for them, because they enabled me to be where I am today. I wouldn't have been a life coach, most likely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing this podcast with you right now. I'm, meeting amazing people like yourself. So, it is is a blessing. What was that?
I said you flirt.
I am a flirt. But seriously though, and it's funny because one of the guys messaged me the other day saying, you're doing, one of the guys who hurt me the most, one of my best friends, said, you're killing it, man. That's the only time he's ever said that. That was literally a few days ago.
Wow.
And and I speak to him, and I'm glad he's doing his own thing, but I wouldn't trade spaces with him. That's what I'd say. But we're different, so we want different things.
So interesting. Because I've only had that because the reason I wanted to, and I've stuck on this a lot in terms of it trying to be in the moment at that time, is because I think a lot of people, if anyone listens to this, then have actually understanding what you're thinking and how you were reacting in those moments. People can kind of relate to those things if they have been in it. Because I think it's quite a common problem with our generation. Like anxiety, the pressure's set on us in society to actually do these jobs, go and get A stars at A levels, go to university, go in a certain career path. The expectation is set by generations before. It feels like, oh, my grandson's going to be doing this. And it's like people aren't at this moment, don't have the awareness to really understand what it means to have anxiety and to have these self-limiting, I think, beliefs in some ways.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to linger on it a little bit. And I want to ask another question about your parents. Did they raise you to think outside the box? How were you raised to think with them?
Oh my, yeah. I strongly agree with that, because I mean, I went to a normal primary school, and I was called Magnus for a start, and that was weird. Like people like Magnus. People used to take the piss out of my name because it's different. They're like, where are you from? Like, well, my mum's called Joe and my dad's called Richard. They just like the name Magnus. They're English. English parents. And we always used to go on holidays to historical landmarks. Like we'd go to Morocco, we'd go to Egypt, it'd be cultured holidays, and I'd look at other people around me and they were going to Disneyland. At the time I was like, Mum, why aren't we going to Disneyland or doing things like that? But yeah, and the fact that I had so many books in my house is full of books. my dad's a big reader. My mum's she's a lecturer at the university. My mum's got a PhD, and my dad's studied a lot as well. And they love learning. So there was this thing on. I was raised to think differently. I was raised to think outside the box. I was raised to criticize and be skeptical of things and think for myself. So yeah, definitely.
What about career-wise?
What do you mean?
What kind of position did they have on what you wanted to be? What did they advise? Did they say, we want you to be happy, do whatever you want? Or did they say, find a career which is going to give you safety, security?
Yeah. They never really said, do this, but I know my dad wanted me to go into a safe, secure job. He didn't say it explicitly, but for example, at GCSEs, I wanted to do business studies, and he wanted me to do German.
Arguably, I'd say it's the other way around. In terms of I'd say that's more of a obscure way to go and do something, because German is a skill. Yeah. Business studies is just facts.
That's interesting that you said that. Yeah, but I think he works for the public sector.
Okay.
I just know that he doesn't really. They didn't impose anything on me. I just know that I was surrounded with people who were in secure, stable jobs, and even starting out as an entrepreneur, I know my dad had his concerns about it. Yeah.
What were they?
Just, where's the money going to come from?
Money.
Yeah.
I have that as well.
Yeah.
And I understand it. I think sometimes, when you look at your parents, you go, why are you thinking like that? Why is it? And it's like, I saw something the other day, which was like, your parents are doing the best they can do from what they know.
100%.
And it's like, money and security is still such a driver in life. And it is, you need money to have security. But if you can break through the demands and the reliance on that and be doing something which is valuable to yourself, and has value to other people, then you go beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's almost a utopia for some people in some ways, and it's almost too much of a dream for other people. Like it's very touchable and reachable for people if you can see it and you can link it, I guess. So I always find it's interesting just finding out like the way your parents kind of imprinted that on you, and even like in every life, like extracurricular activities, those kind of things. It's amazing. What kind of stuff did you do when you were growing up? Sports or music or stuff like that?
Yeah,
skills wise.
Yeah, I played the cello in primary school. I played football all my life. Yeah, played football most of my life. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on what you just said there. It's really interesting about your parents do the best with what they have. That's very, very true. And I think everyone in life has a positive intention, even if it doesn't have a positive outcome. Like people, even if it's self-serving, it's a positive intention. And your parents might be doing something from a place of love and positive intention, but that doesn't mean it's best for you. Like the only person who knows what is best for you is you. And that's why it's so important to listen to your parents, because they've lived and they want the best for you. But it's also very important to tune into your own heart and your own being and block out the noises that are coming through the school system, your parents, because no one can tell you what you should do or can do apart from yourself. Yeah.
And it links nicely as a life coach as well. How do you, I think the thing is, what I've always thought when working with coaches or therapists is how do you give objective opinion and space for people to figure out what it is without imprinting your own ideas on them? How do you go about that? Because what you just said is completely right. But, if someone's not thinking it and they hear it for the first time, how do they hear it in the most neutral way where they can align it to themselves rather than aligning it to a way which might have a slight slant from your previous experiences in life?
It's an amazing question. And I'd say both coaches and therapists, their job isn't to tell you what to do. It's to, all coaches do is ask the right questions. They don't, a mentor tells you maybe what to do. They give you more guidance.
Yeah.
But a coach is simply there to reflect back to you questions, and then you make your own decisions, your own conclusions
Sure.
from those questions. Like, I mean, you work with Tobias, so you probably realize, I mean, I don't know. I've been coached by Tobias, so I know how he is. But from my experience with Tobias, he doesn't say, you need to do this.
No, I know, no.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes if someone goes down a path which you really agree with, because you've been it before, you know, you can easily go, oh my God, I really relate to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like there's a part of me when doing that, like when I have an idea and I go, and someone goes, I really like that, I go, cool, they like that, but why do they like that? What is it which they like about that?
Yeah.
Is it because they would feel safe in that position, or they feel like that's what they would want to do, or is it because they truly think objectively it's the right way to go? And that's sometimes as a life coach.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever objective.
Okay.
I think it's always subjective.
Okay.
Like when I'm coaching people, even the way I lead them and I pace the conversation is to do with what I know and what I feel is the right direction.
Sure.
So even though I'm not saying do this, you need to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can see there's something there, maybe a limiting belief.
Sure.
Okay, let's follow that train. So
Sure.
I'm leading them from my subjective life experience.
Sure.
There's nothing in life that's objective, because even when we're being objective, it's coming from a subjective place.
So why did you? I'm interested in also the journey in terms of the titles you've given yourself as a coach.
Yeah.
Going from anxiety, was it anxiety first?
Yeah. No, it was transformation coach, then anxiety coach, and now I'm a confidence coach.
So what do all of those mean individually, and how have you evolved into being that coach you are now, which I'm sure has all aspects of those anyway?
Yeah.
But you know, what does the title mean as a confidence coach now?
So honestly, they're just labels.
Okay.
All coaches do this. They do the same thing. Okay, they have expertise in some areas, and that's usually why you specialize in what you do.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's a spiritual coach, they know they're into spirituality. If someone's an anxiety coach, they've got experience in helping people with anxiety.
Yeah.
So I helped. Well, first of all, I labeled myself a transformation coach because my journey was a massive transformation. It was going from someone who was lacking confidence but tried to cover it up and compensate for it in high school because I've had low self-esteem, and then having severe anxiety, not being able to do anything, losing all sense of confidence I had in myself, and then going from that to helping other people overcome their own limiting beliefs because of the experience I had in therapy and coaching and getting myself back on my feet. But I've recently transitioned from anxiety coach to confidence coach, not because I don't want to help people with anxiety. I'm in a very good place to help people. I have a lot of valuable experiences and tools that can help a lot of people. It's just that I found, because I'm labeling myself a confidence coach and I'm focusing on mindset. For me, what helped me out of the anxiety was not focusing on the anxiety. What helped me overcome the anxiety and be confident in my authenticity and in myself was focusing on what life do I want to create, focusing on getting closer to who I am and not judging myself, not labeling myself a failure, and just being in my own lane and being content with being myself. So that's why I've changed from anxiety coach, because I think when I've focused on anxiety, I feel anxiety.
You're stuck in it.
I'm stuck in it.
You're stuck in the subject.
I don't want to be stuck in the subject. We're not here to talk about anxiety. We're here to talk about what type of life you want to live. Life's too short to talk about negative emotions. Why would you want to spend your life thinking and talking about that? And I noticed even though I wasn't struggling with anxiety as an anxiety coach, I felt, because I was giving so much energy to solving the problem of anxiety, I felt almost stuck in it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, okay, what do you want? Okay, you have anxiety.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
What type of life do you want to live? Who do you want to be with?
Yeah.
What emotions do you want to feel? Feel on a daily
Yeah.
basis.
The building blocks.
The building blocks.
Nice.
Because I genuinely believe you overcome anxiety by increasing your vibration.
Yeah.
Not by focusing on it.
Yeah. No, beautiful. Okay, it links nicely actually to what's inspired you to be the person you are now.
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really interesting question, because there's two answers I've got. One, the pain of not being who I am right now. The pain of letting the pain of not being true to myself, abandoning myself to try and please other people or to get people to like me, and also the potential I knew I had inside me to be happy and to inspire other people. So knowing that I had huge potential inside me and knowing that I had a choice to become the person I am today. Yeah.
What, for people who don't understand it, what does it mean to be your truest self? What is the truest self you're talking about? Because there's a lot of people who go, what the fuck is he on about?
Yeah. Okay.
What's
That's
the
a
truest,
great-
what's
yeah.
the truest version of Magnus? There's 2 questions for you there.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Doing things for me, not thinking about what the other person is thinking and thinking how they want me to come across. Purely acting on my own intuition. And if I want to do something, if I want to say something, then saying it.
Okay.
If I feel... It's a great question. It's really connecting to who you are as a person, really connecting to your heart, doing things for you, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of very much things of presence,
Yeah,
being true to instinctive intuition.
exactly. Because the reason I found that challenging question to answer was because who you are with different people will differ. You're not just one version of yourself.
Yeah.
I'm a different person with you than I am with my mum.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's spot on what you said about being who you are in this present moment, following your intuition, following your inner being in this present moment is true authenticity. Because you can't just be...
And that's your true self, true authenticity to who you are.
Exactly.
Without any external influence. That's the thing as well, is that I'm a big believer that everybody has intuition, but they just don't know how, they can't hear it, they don't know how to connect with it, they don't really know what it feels like. You know, and you kind of do in extreme moments where you're forced to go left or right.
Yeah.
I'll go left.
Yeah.
But in decisions for life, people can get very overwhelmed with that. So what are your tips to help people connect with that and really hear their intuition, hear their true self speaking to them? Because what's interesting to know is whenever you have a harder question, you're taking a little bit of time to breathe in, you close your eyes, you ground yourself. So maybe we start with that as one initial thing, because clearly that's what you're doing right now is a technique.
Exactly. Yeah. Sit with yourself, be silent, listen to that voice. And the thing is as well, it's sometimes we look for a voice. Sometimes the voice doesn't appear. Sometimes you're quiet and you're silent. I meditate sometimes and I don't hear a voice. And I'm like, where the fuck's this voice? It can simply be a nudge. It can simply be a song. It can simply be a feeling. It doesn't have to be a voice. It can be a voice. It appears a lot to be a voice, but it's an inner knowing.
Magnetic.
It is. Yeah. It's magnetic. Yeah. I think the first step is to be silent. Stare at a wall for half an hour. Putting your hand on your heart. Breathing in and out and just listening to your heart. Because your heart has intelligence.
What heart are you talking about? Are we talking about the heart chakra? Or are we talking about the heart, which pumps blood?
The chakra.
The chakra. Okay. Just to clarify that for people. Because just because I want to, in the sense that that's also important to know. I didn't know that before Christmas.
Yeah.
The
Okay. Yeah.
between that.
No. I think it's important to raise that point.
Yeah.
And I heard a story recently. It's fucking awesome. Basically, well, it's not awesome that it happened because someone died. I'll get into this. Right. So basically, what happened was this girl had a heart transplant.
Yeah.
And after the heart transplant, she was having all these crazy nightmares, and it was going on every night. And then she saw a therapist and like, this isn't great. This isn't right. I'm having the same nightmare every night of this other girl dying in the forest, killed by a man. This will blow your mind because it blew my mind. Basically, it happened so often that they actually went to the police and said, "I'm having this nightmare." They sketched out the picture that she was painting for them, and then turns out that this was a real occurrence. This was a real event where a girl had been killed in the woods, and it turned out that the transplant she had
Was the heart of that girl?
was the heart of the girl, and the girl's heart stored memory that she
Oh,
was then
shit.
having having in the form of a nightmare.
Oh my god!
And they actually found the guy, the murderer, after that because of her nightmares.
Wow,
Isn't that?
that is so weird.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that
isn't
is
it?
crazy. That
So
is
the
really
heart
crazy.
has memory, and the
Yeah,
heart
yeah.
has intelligence.
Okay.
So when we're putting a hand on our heart and we're breathing and we're listening to the beat of our heart, the heart is actually communicating to us with real cells.
So going back to these points then of how do you connect to your true self? So one of them is taking time to breathe, staring at a wall for half an hour. I guess the
It
word.
works.
I guess what you're saying is really solitude.
Solitude, yeah. And this is a really important point, not forcing an answer. Because if you're meditating and you tell your body to stop moving, I guarantee your body wants to move.
It's like someone said it. Who was it? It's I think it's a Chris Williamson podcast, or no, Jordan Peterson. One of them said, if you tell someone to not think of an elephant, they're going to think of an elephant. But it is that thing.
Yeah.
It's being.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So not forcing an answer. That's I really want to make that point, because so many people will get really frustrated that, why can't I hear the voice? Why can't I hear my heart speak? That's blocking you from hearing it. So not having an expectation of what the answer should be, simply listening and being with your heart and with yourself. As I said, like, it's called the backwards law. If we tell ourselves to do something, we want to do the opposite because we pursue freedom. So be, and don't have an expectation of the answer. Yeah.
Nice. What drives you? Okay. And I've asked everybody.
Money and sex.
What
else?
What are you running? Are you running away from something, or are you running towards something?
Oh.
And I'm gonna say it again because I say it in every one so far.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson talked about an experiment with a rat where they put a spring on the tail and they put food in front of it, and they measured the tension in the spring for it to go towards the food. They then put the scent of a cat behind it and blew it into it so it could smell it, and measured the tension. And the tension, because of the cat behind, was a lot greater than because of the food in front. So
okay.
A lot of people say the most successful people in life, or let's say in business in a sense, are super successful because they're running away from the person they don't want to be, or they're running away to prove a point. They're not running towards the goal as much. How do you fit into that?
I mean, I think it's both. I think I'm running away from Judgment Day. My biggest fear is to be on my deathbed, breathing very shallowly and thinking, like, I could have been a different person. I could have had really enjoyable, rich experiences. I could have done more. I could have experienced things. And I led my life in fear and in pleasing other people and making sure that I was just a good person, instead of doing what I'm meant to be doing, which is following my heart. But then again, I do that all the time. And I think what I've changed recently is that I was driven by that fear so much before. And actually, speaking to you, my perspective has changed a lot, because I don't want to be on my deathbed either and go, oh, I achieved a lot, had a lot of accolades, but it wasn't present. Didn't spend time with my loved ones, or I didn't enjoy spending time with them because I was too busy thinking about money or status. So I don't really have that fear so much, because I'm doing what I want to do every day. There's always more that I want to do, but I'm on the whole, I'm living a really great life. So I am driven by that fear to some extent. Little things like, oh, I could take that risk. I didn't take that risk. But I think what I'm driving towards is giving people permission to be themselves. I want to encourage people, young people especially. I help people in their 20s, because that's when I went through my biggest struggle.
Why do you think that's important?
Because so many people in their 20s are so spiritually lost. They're spiritually homeless. And they're so busy looking at money, popularity, vanity, and they want to, they're acting out of fear and insecurity, and that's exactly what I was doing. So my thing is helping people. If people want to sing. If people want to become a comedian and stand on stage, then I want to help people do that. I want to help people do what they want to do, because so many people are scared of being who they want to be because of the fear of failure, because of the fear of judgment, because of the fear of rejection, because of the fear of abandonment.
Where do you think that's come from in society? What do you reckon the root is for that?
I mean, I think it's always been there. Humans, fear is something that's ingrained in us.
Yeah.
It's how we've survived. But I definitely think it's funny because we have the best living conditions, but we have more fear than ever, more anxiety than ever. And I think it's to do with social media. We're hyper aware of all the opportunities. All the opportunities are right in our faces. If you're a Russian farmer in the 1920s, you're not seeing Lenin's mansion on the flick of flick of your finger. Now you're seeing 16-year-olds become rich, be rich, and people think that's the answer to life and the answer to happiness, success. And because people are chasing success, they're always chasing, and because they're always chasing something they think will give them happiness, they're never being happy in the now. They're not in the now. They're in the future. I think that's the biggest thing. I think when I'm on a train today, for example, on the Piccadilly line, so many people are on their phones and plugged in. They're not looking around them. They're not looking at the faces. They're in this portal. And I think it truly is living in the future and living in the past. People are so in their heads nowadays, and that's because of social media. I think it's the education system. It's expectations of what you should be and who you should be that is driving these kids to feel lost and directionless.
What are the steps which we need to take as a society to change that then? I guess, I think there's two questions here. It's what are the steps we should take individually if we feel that, but what are the steps which, we might be taking as future parents and then as society, So what individually do you think people can do to try and step away from that?
Turn off your phone at night.
Nice.
Turn off your phone at night. Have a clear idea of what you want and understand why you want what you want. It's funny because...
How do you do that?
Okay, so there's a great way of doing it. It's called the 7 Whys. If someone says they want something, I really want to be a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important? Ask them why it's important for them to be a firefighter. Because it will give me a sense of achievement. Why is it important for you to be, to have a sense of achievement? Because if I have a sense of achievement and I'll feel liberated, why is it important for you to be liberated? And you follow it 7 times. And usually then it highlights the core value of theirs. And if the core value is something like that's coming from soul, then, or coming from a core value, then have that at the forefront. For me, when I discover why I want to be a coach, I realize I want to be coach because I want to be able to choose what I do when I do it and help other people do the same, have the freedom of choice, or to become aware that they have choice in life. That's my why. So the 7 whys, ask yourself 7 times why, is a great way.
And if you can't get to 7 whys, what does that mean?
Just keep asking until something becomes very obvious that it means a lot to you.
Okay.
And another way of doing it is, so you said the question was, how do you know why? What was the question again?
The one before the one I just said?
Yeah.
It was, how do you know why you want to do, how do you know why you want to follow your passion or whatever it was you said?
Yeah. So what do you spend your time doing, like when you don't have to do anything? That's a really good way of looking at it. Like audit what you do. Like when you're not doing the podcast and you're not working and you're not, this could be it, couldn't it? But when you don't have to do anything, when there's no obligations and you've got a free Saturday, what do you choose to do?
I've got a few things. So I'll either golf, go down to the gym, swim, watch football, plan. I think I love to work as well, in the sense that I love to like edit and learn new things. So listen to podcasts, those kind of things are stuff I love to do in my free time.
That's a great example for you, because the fact that in your free time you choose, not even on a conscious level, you just subconsciously gravitate towards podcasts, watching podcasts.
Yeah.
And I was amazed how many podcasts you listen to. It's crazy.
Silly, isn't it?
It's great though, because you're doing this for the right reasons, because it's coming from a place of passion and not going, oh, I need to make loads of money. You know, I need to be the next Diary of a CEO. It's like, no, I just do it in my spare time. So that's a massive clue. Like if you're watching boxing all day on YouTube, then the chances are you want to be in that sphere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What do you reckon the balance is? Because I think that, and I'm only going to speak from my experience, is that I was definitely advised to take safer options for myself without them feeling like the right ones because of the security steps here. Where's the balance between being so extreme that you know you want to do something for you and thinking there's a career in it, and actually going, right, what is the really best step for me?
Yeah.
Because that's a really hard one, because a lot of people go, I'll do that, and then it can fuck up. Like a lot of people, the majority of people, let's say, for example, on OnlyFans, don't make any money.
Yeah. Interesting statistic, you know, it's weird that you know that.
Well, I know. I tried.
I've subscribed to all of it.
No. I heard it because it was something which came up. Because
that's interesting.
You know, that's the thing. We as you said, we only hear the success stories. So, and that's the thing. And it's not saying you can't be a
because
success.
mine hasn't got any subscribers, and it's been on there for 3 months. My OnlyFans.
Yeah. Well, there you go. See? And I did want to subscribe to your OnlyFans, but I just didn't really want to see the content. But yeah, you know, I think there's a balance, and what I'm conscious of is saying that, you should go and follow your passion. Whatever you do, put it first, give up everything. Like, there's a balance to it, of course, but there's a balance in finding time for fulfillment in your life and finding time to work, I guess.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon? What would you recommend to people who are in that position of going, I really want to do something else, but I've got to survive?
Oh, that's such a challenging question, because so many people are different. People are different. I had a conversation with someone and he said, to be honest with you, like what I value is not work. I value being with my friends and family. So I'm happy to do this job that isn't maybe what lights me up inside. It's not like, if I had to choose anything, it wouldn't be this job. But where I really get my fulfillment from is being with my friends and family, or playing sports. I get it. I get that, because my mind doesn't work like that.
So how do you find fulfillment in your life?
I think creating a life that I don't need to escape from.
Okay.
That's my thing. I like, this is work for me, but this is fun.
Yeah, work is play.
Yeah, well, it isn't work. I don't really see work as work. I don't know.
Lifestyle.
It's lifestyle. Like, I just don't want to. The life that I've created for myself isn't a life I'd see as a work.
What does fulfillment mean?
That's a really good another question. Getting into it today. Let me just. I want to answer that question, but about the question before, I want to just get into. I just want to say something on that.
Yeah. I mean, go back to that question, because I think we can go deeper on what's fulfillment in your life, brings fulfillment to your life. But then maybe we can go back to that one after.
Yeah. So I think for some people, being in a job that pays the bills, serves a purpose, and then they live after that, is fine for them. But for me personally, I didn't think this was possible before, but the fact that I've seen people, especially in this, there's so many opportunities today to pursue your passion. The fact that I see people, like, just thinking off the top of my head, like Logan Paul, the fact that his job is to do the podcast, do the WWE, and really just tweet out some stuff and do YouTube. The fact that that's a job changed my conception of what work really is. Work, you can create a job around just being yourself nowadays. So that's my goal, is to create a career, which I have created already, where I am the job.
Nice.
I am the job.
Yeah.
But I also think it's very important to have balance in your life and not just work. Because I think it's important to be present with your family, be present with your friends. Relax your body.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what is fulfillment? For me,
what does it mean?
fulfillment for me is a feeling. It's a feeling of where I can breathe, where my lungs can expand. Relaxing. Feeling like I don't have to be anywhere or be anybody other than the person I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
Content. It's like feeling of content and feeling of ease.
So it's a feeling of it's a feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
What's your conception of fulfillment?
A feeling of the past. So like I've done something, and from that action, I'm like, I've got a great like satisfaction from that. I've got fulfillment. I feel like that was of value to me, the person. But yours is of presence, which is really interesting. And maybe mine is that I haven't realized that it's because I've been in those moments. Like now, I find this fulfilling because the connection we've got and the conversation we're having. Maybe that is fulfillment. But after is where I'll feel the fulfillment because it's the looking back on it and being like, that was really worth my time.
But do you feel fulfilled right now?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, definitely.
And if you look at it, the past and future only exist in the present moment anyway.
100%. Yeah.
Because the past and the future are only in our thoughts. So it's like it's almost the perspective of looking back and going, so glad I did that podcast. I'm so glad I made that move in my business. That was awesome. Yeah. So that's what that is for you.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that time. Like for me, it was time well spent. It was time where I got something back from it, and I gave something as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's an exchange in some ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, but like I think
I get that.
fulfillment is definitely along those lines of. It feels like that was a building block.
Oh, you know what? I can totally relate to that. I think that is fulfillment for me as well. I think the way I'd see it is progress. That I'm working towards something meaningful.
Yeah.
And something that's going to lead to my expansion.
Yeah.
For sure. That feeling, yeah.
How close are you with your family?
I'm very, very close. Yeah, I'm very close. Me and my mum is like the closest person to me. Like I love her to bits. She's amazing. And I speak to her about everything. Like we have conversations like we're having right now, and I talk about business, I talk about how I'm feeling, I talk about everything. So yeah, I feel like I have a really deep connection with my mum, and with my dad, we have a lot of love for each other. We have a different relationship, and we've had our challenges in the past. We've worked through a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of healing in the past few years, and he's becoming he's impressive. He's becoming a really amazing person. He is an amazing person, but we've definitely butted heads in the past.
You're feeling more connected now, though, with him.
Feeling way more connected to him, and I'm understanding him more. I had a lot of resentment and bitterness towards him, and the more I know about him, the more I learn about his own fears, his own insecurities, his own life experience, the more I can have compassion for his flaws and love and compassion for them.
Observing them and being with them, how much does it make you want to be a parent as well?
Yeah, I'd love to be a parent. I mean, that's probably the most fulfilling thing you could do is to, I get fulfillment helping my clients. Imagine what the feeling would be like if I was raising my child and passing on everything that I know to them.
What would be the one main lesson you'd want to offer to your child?
Wow.
Boy or girl? When I've asked it before, guys have gone, people have gone, well, what do you mean for a boy or for a girl? Yeah. So some people have different each one.
For me, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Men and boys and girls are different. They think differently.
Yeah. Let's go if it doesn't matter, because I really want to hear that answer as a generalized lesson for everybody. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. So the main lesson, the main thing I'd want them to know is that they always have choice in how they respond to things. They always have a choice. They don't always control what happens to them and the experiences they have in life, but they always can choose how they respond to what happens to them. They can always choose an attitude. They can always choose an action. And they can always, and it's also okay not to always make the right choices. And that you're always enough as you are. You're always loved and lovable as you are. You don't need to be anybody or prove anything. You are always worthy of love. And you have the choice to love yourself and love other people. Life's really about love, really. Loving other people and loving yourself and enjoy and experiencing joy. What else is there, really?
Experience is a word which is coming up for you a lot in this moment. And I think that's one thing which it's not a lesson, but it's one of the things I said to a lot of people recently on some of our calls and stuff is like expectation is what brings about stress, anxiety, that experience. If you just go, I'm going to experience life, this thing I'm trying, or school, and experience it in the good and the bad, that goes away. And I think that links that. It's like, I think that's one of the most important lessons personally as well. It's like, how can you just be in the moment and understand what it feels like to be good at maths or bad at maths?
Yeah. Yeah. Just do.
Because why does it matter?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all the meaning we're attaching to it. I'm bad at maths. I'm good at maths. Just be experiencing life as it happens to you. Just be there for the ride.
And experience getting better.
Yeah.
And then there's no pressure.
Yeah. That's such a healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. We've gone through what's your mission. Okay.
I'll just go over it again.
Yeah.
My mission is
straight to the camera.
Okay. My mission is to help people realize they have the power of choice and that they're always free to choose what they want in life. They don't have to settle for anything that is not fulfilling them. They don't have to settle for anything that it doesn't feel like a 10 out of 10. You can always choose a better thought, even if you're not in a good state. If you're in a negative mindset or a negative emotional state, there's always a better thought to choose. There's always a better feeling to choose. And there's always a better experience that you can have. And when you look for the good things, your brain will filter out all the bad things and help you focus on what is good. So yeah, just focus on what is good and good things will come.
How do you know you found your passion?
I don't.
How would someone know they found their passion?
Yep.
Let's start with a question before. Yeah. What is passion?
For me, everyone has different definitions. Passion for me is a feeling of energy and like overflowing energy. I could do this all day. I could be in this moment all day. Mm-hmm. Passion, yeah. Like if you're a passionate footballer, you want to hold on to the ball. You want to be on the football pitch all day. Mm-hmm. If you're a passionate podcaster, you want to be listening to podcasts all day. And
do you think everybody has a passion?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do. Okay, I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
How do they find it if they don't think they do?
Take a year out and try and say to yourself, I'm going to do nothing and see what you do.
Interesting. I like that. And if you don't take a year, it could be a weekend.
Even a weekend.
Yeah.
Or even 30 minutes at the wall.
Yeah, stare at the wall. Okay. I like that. So it goes back to clearing your mind and what are the first things which come back into you as things you just want to do to entertain yourself. And
exactly.
Okay.
Remove the expectations and see what your body wants to do.
Right. Nice. How important is it to surround yourself with the right people in life?
Well, we're with Will right now, so it's important, good people. People who make you think outside the box, people who help you grow. Mm-hmm. It's so important, man. Like, it determines, it comes back to what I was saying about focus. Like, your focus determines your reality. Mm-hmm. You could focus on the blood going through your ear right now, or you could be focusing on the words that I'm saying. Mm. You would have a different experience, though. There's millions of different experiences you could be having in this very moment, all to do with your focus. So the reason it's important to surround yourself with people who help you grow is because those people guide your focus. If someone's like, oh, it's life's shit, isn't it? Oh, it's fucking bullshit. There's no money. There's no happiness. How's that going to make you feel? If someone's saying, wow, like, look at these opportunities. Wow, look at the podcast that we've just done. It's amazing. And the drink, oh, I love the sparkling water. I love the bubbles in my mouth. Right, all that stuff, right? So random. But that's going to make you feel good. It's going to increase your vibration. And yeah, that's and it's really I do believe you have a choice to choose your focus even when someone's focusing on something that's negative. You can still direct your focus to something positive, but it's more challenging.
How did you find the right people after school, after you'd been through a situation where you were isolated, ostracized from your group? How did you go to university and find the people who were right for you in a way which was completely unbiased and uninfluenced by your previous experience? Or maybe it was, maybe you can't come from that being unbiased and uninfluenced, but
Yeah.
how did you go about that?
I didn't at first. I was in a cycle of, I mean, I went to sixth form and I met some awesome people. I'm still friends with those guys now, and they're great. I think it comes down to ego as well, not being in your ego, opening up to people, being vulnerable with people, showing people who you truly are. You can't be with the right people if you're not able to be vulnerable. So vulnerability, and at university, I carried on hanging out with some people who were negative influences, who were doing drugs, who didn't value me, and I didn't value really either. So it took me a while, and there's times where I feel like even though I know of people, I don't. I've just recently become really close with someone, my mate James, and we have a really deep connection. But it was only until I haven't had a relationship like I have had with him forever, in terms of vulnerability and in terms of pushing each other to be better. So I even now, like, I don't. Even the past few months, I said, "Oh, do I really know my people? Like, do I really have I found my people yet? Being in contact with you and knowing people like you is great, because you are the way you think and the way you act it aligns to my values. So yeah, I feel like I'm finding my people. Yeah.
And I guess what are the techniques you've used to really decipher who's good and bad for you?
How do you feel with them? Do you feel, because I've had people in the last year who I've met who ticked loads of boxes, like thinkers, really cool thinkers, really, I felt like I was growing around them, but I felt certain expectations and pressures around them. I didn't feel able to truly be myself. So when you feel this, your gut can tell you, your gut will know this person that I don't feel completely right around them. It's about connecting to yourself again.
Do you think you have to be in a really clear and positive frame of mind to really get that, or can you feel that when you're also not in a great place?
Yeah, I think both.
Both.
Yeah, I think both. Yeah, you can feel it from my experience.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, my opinion is going to come from hindsight. So I think when you're not confident with yourself, or when you're not happy,
Yeah.
either finding attention or finding people who just want to spend time with you, no matter if they're good or bad, feels like a positive booster, because it's that time and attention, and that, I guess, attention is what gives you a bit of satisfaction and reward. But I find, being in my present mind I am now, I definitely have the clearest perception of when I feel connected to someone for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons.
How do you know when you're not connected for the right reasons?
Conversation won't flow necessarily as well, or you just don't feel that kind of like real attention in holding eye contact, or talking about things in the right way, feeling like you're being pushed to your limits too much.
I love that. What do you think that is, that pushing to your limits?
Well, I'm going to play on the edge here, because I think that is sometimes good if it's the limits for growth, but sometimes there's also the limits for your morals. And I think sometimes people are like, for example, let's say we've got a drinking culture in the UK where everyone, let's go to the pub in the evening, Friday night, let's go get fucked.
Yeah.
Cool. For me, that pushes me to the edge of my limits of actually being comfortable.
Yeah.
and not because there's growth for me to be a better version of it, but it's like I don't want to be that person who drinks so much and I just don't like that person I am there.
Yeah.
And so when I'm in that situation, I ultimately have a kind of like alarm bells with that. It's like, that doesn't associate with me now.
Yeah.
But when I was at university, I was part of that because it was like, I need to fit in.
Yeah.
And when I'm there, I get the attention, I get the focus from them, you know? And that's why I'm saying, like, in hindsight, it's really easy to see that. But in the moment, you're just trying to find your people.
Yeah.
You're just trying to, like, there's always one or two ringleaders. You're always just trying to, you're either one of the ringleaders or you're trying to be a close, like an assailant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're an associate, even is a better word.
But when you were in that environment, did you not feel like you knew this wasn't right? There's something not in alignment.
The real extreme versions of it, I would always leave. I would leave. That would push me to my limit enough, and I'm not doing this. I'm going to go. This isn't me. There will be points where it's like it's not bad enough, and it's elements of fun.
You know, though.
But I'd be like, if I chose to do this, I wouldn't do this. If I had a complete freedom of choice.
If there was no pressure.
Exactly,
yeah.
If I was the leader making the decision, what were we going to do tonight as a group? What would I do?
So I think that's really a really important point for people to hear this. So what would you say to someone who was in your situation at university and they felt they wanted to fit in? Because as humans, we want to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have friends. We want to feel loved. What would you say to someone who was in your situation, who's really feeling that pressure to drink and to be in that situation when they know they don't want to be in it?
University is a really strange one because it's a great place to isolate yourself because there are so many different types of people there.
Yeah.
There's always a group. There's always people who associate with. I've always said this, and I said this, and I mean it in the nicest possible way to anyone who thinks they're in this group. I said to people, I love hanging out with the weirdos. Because the weirdos do what they want to do, and they don't conform to what everybody else says. They're the ones learning how to code, or they're the ones doing their whatever, building their models, or they're having fun. They're completely in the moment with each other, but they're present with each other, and they're not forcing other people around them to do stuff they don't want to do. They're allowing everybody to be themselves because that's how they feel comfortable with themselves. And those groups, you can always find them. And I found myself at university gravitating. And they're not weirdos, okay? But I gravitated to those people because that was far more comfortable for me to be who I wanted to be.
You felt like you could be authentic in that situation.
Exactly. I felt like I don't like going to nightclubs, or I don't like doing that kind of stuff because when you go there, you're there to be seen rather than be.
Yeah.
You're there to be judged. Is this an attractive proposition for tonight? Do you know what I mean? Like, that is the essence of going out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's an insecurity for me, but it's like, there's also no connection there.
Yeah.
What connection do you have to someone in a club or in a bar? Really? Sure, some people would, and you'll meet boyfriends and girlfriends eventually, but from that first thing, it's really just raw physical attraction.
Yeah.
I don't know. At school for me, it was far worse because all boys boarding school, hierarchy and peer pressure is it underlines a lot of it. Again, I've always been independent and I would always go away, but I always did feel pressure to do it just so I wasn't ostracized from my year. But I remember I was head of social for a year, and I remember taking a completely different stance, which was I've got a role to play now, and I can differentiate myself from my peer group, my friends. I had to put my peer group to bed at night time. Housemaster went, right, bed, go and put them to bed, and I'd have to. And there's guys who are big rowers, rugby players, big characters, and I remember them calling me out, going, "Oh, stop sucking up to the headmaster, stop licking his ass." And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just doing the job.
Yeah.
And but that I isolated myself, but I did it through another way of actually, this is my role.
Yeah.
So I mean, it probably was more a protection thing, but it allowed me to step away from it, I think.
Oh, okay. So it was like a subtle way of you differentiating yourself.
Yeah.
And not having to be.
Not having to take the responsibility of me going against that figure. I had to.
Okay.
So it was a protection method. So like looking back, and it's easy to do in the moment. Those kind of things to help people with this is like, being true to yourself is definitely the best way to do it. And don't be scared to find the isolation. You will find the right people eventually with it. It is part of life.
what came to mind then was cut the rope and just jump and let yourself be lonely. I think I felt lonely a lot, and I think I've started to find people when I was okay being lonely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a problem with loneliness at the moment?
Yeah, massively. I mean, what you said was really interesting about you can be with a bunch of people and be lonelier than being just by yourself.
Yeah.
Loneliness is not even about being with other people. It's about your company, and you can be your own company. And you can have connection to yourself. And I genuinely believe when you're truly connected to yourself, you attract the right people and have the deepest sense of connection when you're truly connected to yourself. Because our external world is just a reflection of our inner world. And if we feel loneliness inside ourselves because we feel disconnected from ourselves, guarantee when you force yourself with a group of people who don't align to you, you're going to feel lonely.
Okay. Final question. What advice will you give to someone who wants to pursue a passion, a career, something different? What would your advice be for them to start or to go with it?
Do it. Don't focus on the money. Don't focus on what other people will think. Don't focus on what your parents will think. Don't focus on the logistics of making it happen. Follow your heart, follow your passion. Because I have a strong belief that if you follow your passion and you trust the process, that passion will be very monetizable, very attractive in terms of the relationships you find. I think the biggest tragedy is pursuing something for material gain. That's a tragedy.
Beautiful.
So yeah, follow it, do it. Focus on the first step. Focus on the first stair. Don't focus on the staircase.
I like that.
Yeah, just focus on the first action. Focus on, okay, what's the first thing? Okay, apply for the job. I applied for the job. Okay, what's next? Replies to the email. Really
the
focus
low-hanging
on
fruit.
Yeah, exactly. Because the rest will take care of itself when you focus on what's next instead of what's 10 steps ahead. Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much, Magnus. Do you want to put any of your social media account stuff, let people know where they can find your content? And
yeah, so guys, it's on Instagram, Magnus Davies, TikTok, Magnus Davies. I'm on Facebook as well. Also on YouTube. So follow me on there. Got some exciting things coming in the next few weeks. I'm launching my new coaching business. Going to be helping people transform their lives, develop their confidence, grow their mindset so they can pursue what is meaningful to them. So yeah, that's what I'm doing in the next few weeks.
Love that. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate it. No worries. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Valley of Outlaws podcast. If you did enjoy it, please share, like and subscribe, and please tell all your friends about it. We are very excited for where this is going to go. We've got people to speak to and stories to tell. Thank you.